2 years of age, yeah. So as long as they're caught up and they're back on the healthy track on their growth charts by 2 years of age, that's what we would consider adequate catch-up growth. So the AAP, they're so helpful, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they say that for preterm babies, you should give the same nutrition that the placenta would give. That seems pretty straightforward, but how? You know, we're limited in what we can do outside. The human body does it better than what we can do outside of the human body. So we see, or we've seen in the past, that almost all babies, when they're corrected, have some degree of growth restriction. So this black bar is the babies that are born less than 500 grams, the really, really tiny ones, the 24 to 25 weekers, and then kind of on up in terms of, these are all less than 1,000 grams. By the time that they're 36 weeks corrected, all of them have 100% of some type of growth restriction. And that growth restriction in the smallest group carries on out to 18 months corrected. So that's why nutrition is so vitally important, because it's high risk to continue to be growth restricted. This is what growth charts used to look like when I was training. It looked like this kind of a J. So you'd be born either at the 50th percentile, 25th percentile, you lose a ton of weight, and then you start growing on a new percentile that winds up at less than the 10th percentile. So we focus so much, at least I have in the last 5 years, on improving nutrition so that we can get these babies back to where they were when they were born, the 50th, the 25th percentile, whatever, by the time that they're ready to go home. And if we can't, then they should have super intense focus on making sure that that's happening after they've left the NICU. I don't know if a lot of pediatricians understand that or think about that, so I want to make sure you guys understand it. And the ones that are SGA, or small for gestation, who are born initially at the less than 10th percentile, tend to have more growth failure than the ones who are born appropriate. So you have to really pay attention to the small ones. So some of the things I want to make sure you guys understand and answer questions about are who should be fortified when they're discharged, what should they be fortified with, and how long should the fortification continue. So who should be fortified? All preterm babies who are born less than 1,500 grams, and if they're still less than the 10th percentile by the time they're discharged, they need to be fortified when they get discharged from the NICU. Any baby who is maybe a later preterm baby, but who is still less than 2 kilos at discharge, needs to be fortified. And then anybody who has evidence of any type of nutritional deficiency. And then any baby whose growth is less than our ideal growth weight gain, which would be at least 15 grams per kilo per day. So we kind of have two classifications of babies that we discharge. We have the ones who are just going to be on formula, moms don't make milk anymore, and that's done. Or the moms that still have a lot of milk and are having a significant component of their nutrition as breast milk. So for the formula-fed babies, they should be on preterm formula with higher calories. Any baby who's less than 1,500 grams, any baby that was still less than the 10th percentile, they should receive at least 22 calories. If not, depending on where they are on the growth curve, maybe they need up to 24 calories at the time of discharge. And then any babies who are premature who are not adequately showing good catch-up growth after they've left the NICU. So oftentimes I hear like at the reunion, or someone will email me and they'll say, our pediatrician said we don't need it anymore, and they stopped it, you know. But you have to think about, why is it that we're doing it? Because the preterm baby is at a higher risk, not because, oh, they gained a few grams and that's it and be done with it. You want to make sure that you understand all the reasons that we're doing the fortification. So for breast milk babies, we obviously want to use as much of mom's breast milk as we can, but with unfortified breast milk, you can't achieve proper growth rates. It's just not enough calories in the breast milk. We've seen ranges of breast milk in terms of what they have in it. We can do breast milk analysis, and what I personally see at Cedars is anywhere from 13 calories per ounce to 31 calories per ounce in terms of what mom's breast milk can supply. So we don't know for sure that unfortified breast milk will be enough to help them gain that minimal amount of weight gain. And we see that in unfortified breast milk that our protein nutritional status declines over time. So when you think about bodybuilders who are trying to gain weight in the right way, they supplement with protein. Protein's the most important thing for good, adequate weight gain. So we see that unfortified breast milk over time drops our protein markers, which is our most important nutrient for adequate growth. And then over time, because we don't have enough minerals in the breast milk, we see that the low intake of calcium and phos can lead to calcium being leached out of the bones or not enough calcium being put into the bones. So if you have breast milk, babies need to be discharged on 2 to 3 bottles of the preterm formula. At least 22 calories, if not 24 calories, depending on what their growth chart looks like. And then again, any baby who's on exclusive breast milk who's not adequately growing or showing adequate catch-up growth needs to be supplemented, even if that's at 4 months. If at 4 months you're still less than the 10th percentile and you're on whatever, it needs to be bumped up. It needs to be more, you know. This is something that's kind of ongoing I just want to pay attention to. Sometimes people will say, let's send them home on your breast milk and we'll put the formula powder into the breast milk. It's not actually the ideal way. It's better to actually do straight formula than putting formula powder into breast milk, because when you add the formula powder to the breast milk, you increase certain concentrations of nutrients to the point where they precipitate out and they kind of stick to the lining of the bottle. Or, you know, like when we use it in the NICU, it sticks in the tubing, you know, if we're doing a gavage feed. And also, if it doesn't stick to the bottle and it gets through, the baby's kidneys can't really handle like a load of calcium or a load of calcium complex with phosphorus. So it's not ideal to actually use breast milk as a base of putting formula in, even if it sounds like it's a good idea. It's better to do unfortified breast milk and straight bottles of formula. We use this in the NICU. This can be bought. This is human milk fortifier. We just don't have a mechanism to kind of monitor growth for that now. In UCSF, they have an actual fortifier clinic. So they'll discharge babies home from the NICU using this the way that we did in the NICU, but then they'll bring them in once a week to monitor them in their clinic at UCSF. So they'll check their electrolytes to make sure it's not too much, and they'll check their growth to make sure the growth is good. I think if you're going to use a product like this, you do need to have someone who's going to do checking at least once a week to make sure everything looks good. And then lastly, how long should this fortification be continued? So when you look at kind of the experts in neonatal nutrition, you know, we're psychos about nutrition. We want to be fortified until they're 1 year old. That's probably not realistic. The AAP suggests up to 9 months. But really, in actual practice, most preterm babies who are discharged in kind of across the United States, they usually continue the fortification until about 6 months when they start to introduce food into the diet. So food is going to give you a lot of the nutrients that the fortification is going to, you know, so you're going to do the veggies and the fruits and the things like that, and the oatmeal, and that has iron fortified in it, and that kind of stuff. So at least 6 months. But what I find that about 50% of the time is pediatricians are taking them off after like 2 weeks, like after they leave the NICU. That's way too soon.
So, a little question.
Yeah.
So the fortifier, if you want, because she's on a fortifier, already is on a fortifier, if you wanted to, can you go back and put them on it?
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy this
Because
from...
you said until 12 months, so.
I mean, that's what,
I know,
that's
but
what
I
when you have nutritional people who get together to make impact statements and things like that, this is what we're all trying to say. 12 months, that sounds great.
Right.
You know, we want to get the growth to be ideal as much as possible, get back to being on the